help of the arriving refugees. And a children's corner was set up at the Vienna Central Station, you can see it here, which we from the Kunsthistorisches Museum supported with a mobile studio. So we went there to work with the children. So some results from what we did there with the children. And now, like, the thoughts of Barbara, which she just typed, that I can give it to you here. Is art what they need right now? A question frequently posed under these circumstances. Like, there are on the one side essential and economic needs, and there's luxury art on the other side. But still, art is a possibility to express and reflect things that cannot be dealt with otherwise, that cannot be expressed linguistically, with language probably. So probably art, a creative work, makes things easier. And in situations of hopelessness and even despair, an aspect of mind-liberating rest. So you can have a rest. You can work with your hands on your own, and like yourself, you're expressing yourself, and you're dealing with yourself in those situations. Not being given, but doing yourself, not needing, but creating, is what Barbara writes. So probably art or museums can be a safe space or a safe place for personal encounter and development, especially in like critical situations. So another result, the boy presenting quite proudly. So during this time, free admission and free guided tours to all groups caring for refugees were also established in the museum. Actually, it was politically supported by the government. That was not so right-wing at the time in 2015. Yeah, like it was used quite often, but still there is the question: how and why should we know what they need? So that brings us to another project called Wiener Integrationswoche in German, the week of integration that takes place once a year. It grew a lot for the last years, and at the moment there are 300 places and institutions in Austria involved. Like there are special programs involved with free access to, but the question I already arose, and I just repeat, how and why should we know what they need? So we develop the programs, and we have the offer, and now we expect them to come. Actually, I think that is a problem, and like, that's why we started a completely different project, that we learned from the integration weeks that it was probably better to, like, you know the wording, nothing about us without us. So it's probably more the with somebody than for somebody. And that brought us to the next project called Migrat, migration and art in one word. It's a completely different approach. The museum is just a setting in this program, and the ideas come exclusively from the community itself. So we had an Iranian artist called Reza who developed the programs for refugees and migrants. For example, they did a calligraphy workshop. You can see, you can already see here, and some more results, and people working together in our studio in the Kunsthistorisches Museum. So again, Barbara put things in a nutshell with this slide, and I'm sorry that I just can't read it, but I will. So working with migrants and refugees instead of choosing the right program for them. The workshops are developed by an Iranian artist, okay, that's what I just told you. Museum can deal as a platform, a sphere of action, where they learn to move around in a self-defined way. They can develop their own ideas and topics and their own storytelling. There's another project, the third project Barbara wanted to present to you, organized or funded by the Caritas, that work with young male refugees, and we have the most important thoughts about this project in the next slide. So there have been 2 meetings at their house, so where the refugees had their lodging to get to know each other, and then we had the 3 courses in the museum. So the people were getting personally attached, They were not being told something about art, but they were being active themselves. This way, learning to connect with art in a very personal way and use the museum as their own sphere of action, getting accustomed to move around in a cultural, unfamiliar surrounding that gets more and more familiar, hopefully, from workshop to workshop. That was a completely different experience as an active person treated on eye level for the people, that's what they told us, which is very important for this group of persons at the age and in the situation, those young male refugees. So there was one introduction about meeting the works from the galleries. Then there were the three workshops. The first was about identity, called Strike or Pose. Like it's about identity, self-image, and staging, a topic especially for young people in those situations. And Barbara also tells us what they did from step to step in this workshop, Strike or Pose. So the people made works from the galleries, then they chose a model from prints. They chose their motive for their own staging. They did the research in the internet. They had a beamer projection for easier copying. They created accessories by themselves, and they got dressed and finally took the shot. So just some impressions of the work again from the workshop Strike or Pose. So there were also some cloth, and that's actually the final result, this shot, this picture that had been taken. So that's the first workshop, Strike or Pose. The second is dedicated to expression. And again, we have some information about the workshop Powerful Minds. And in German, minds means the same, or the same word for mind and head is used. So that's why the heads are in brackets here. So powerful minds, and probably heads too. So let's plunge into facial recognition and all the different aspects of expressions. Choose an interesting mind, that catches your attention in the galleries. Make your own drawing of it. You will get tips and tricks how to do this and create your own powerful head out of clay in the end. We heard about clay work just before, so that's what we also do. So these are the young men in the gallery choosing their minds or heads, and these are some of the results, and two more. And actually some impressions from the workshop with clay, from the work with clay. So the Powerful Minds is the second workshop, and the third one is Travel Around the World, which is about experience. So let's look for examples of travel in the works of museum. There are hundreds of. Let's talk about the reasons and aspects of travel or moving away from home, and let's make the step from real travels to imaginary ones. Then we create our own pop-up world of travel. So again, some impressions of the creative work in a studio we did together, and this could be one of the results, the pop-up world. And another one. So, some more thoughts of Barbara. It's about the labeling process. Like, this is an important term in the debates about working with migrants. The problem is like that we in the museum define the needs of others. That like we define groups with special needs, and we are developing programs for instead of working with, what I already mentioned. So knowledge transfer of supposed higher or predominant cultural standards is what can happen, what sometimes happens. So cultural education, and therefore art education, is an essential part of education in general. The bias of a self-defined and fulfilling life. It fosters capabilities of individuals. It enhances the social participation of integration of migrants or refugees, and others as well, of course. It provides a sphere of action for communal exchange and mutual understanding. It leads to cultural literacy, which is beneath others the basis of understanding and the capacity to handle most of the challenges of social, political, and economic interaction. And there is a final statement. Working with migrants and refugees in a sensible way makes you, in the best case, rethink your work as an art educator and the role of museums in general. It brings you down to the very basis of what art education should be, for everyone, not only for this special group. Museums are treasures of knowledge, full of works that contain topics that have been the same over the centuries and over the world. The only difference being the outer form of expression every artist has found for them according to their own time and culture. Art education is thus not a mere transfer of art historian knowledge, but should deliver tools to discover the world of art and culture and enable others to connect with this in a critical and self-defined way. It has to react to actual social and political issues, because in their core they are not new and they can be found in so many works of art throughout the centuries. So that's what Barbara wants to give to you, and I hope some of the ideas right there, I think we talked about some of the ideas already yesterday and this morning, so probably let's open the discussion and let's talk about this labeling, or like probably the core thing of education, art education, mediation in a museum. So all the best also from Barbara. She's very sorry she can't be here. And thank you for listening to me again.